Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're diving into a topic I know you're interested in, and that's how to age well. You sent us this really great guide called The Art of Aging Well,
Mhm.
and basically you're looking for those key insights, the ones that will help you live a healthier and longer and more fulfilling life as you get older.
I love that you're being proactive about this. You know what I think is so interesting about this guide? It doesn't treat aging like it's just going downhill.
Yeah.
It's more like moving into a whole new phase of life, a chapter full of possibilities. And it emphasizes how it's shaped by your genes and the choices you make and even your environment.
Oh, I like that. That's a refreshing way to look at it. So it's not about dreading getting older,
Exactly.
but about like how to make the most of this new stage, right?
Yeah.
In this guide, it's kind of like our roadmap for that.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
lays out like these key areas that we need to focus on. And they call them pillars.
Okay.
And the first one, no surprise, is physical health.
Worth.
But it's not just the same old advice, eat your veggies and all that.
Right.
It actually gets into the specifics of what our bodies actually need as we age.
Okay, so what are the non-negotiables then for staying physically healthy as we get older?
Well, the guide stresses how important it is to exercise regularly and eat a balanced diet and get enough sleep. But here's the thing. It points out that as we age, our bodies actually need fewer calories, but more nutrients.
Oh, so it's not just about eating less, it's about eating like smarter.
Exactly. You got to choose foods that are packed with nutrients.
So it's quality over quantity.
Exactly. Now, the second pillar is all about mental and emotional well-being.
This is where I get really curious. How do we keep our minds sharp? How do we stay engaged, especially as we age? Does this guide have any fun tips for that?
Oh, absolutely. The guide recommends those classic brain exercises like puzzles and games. And for you, since you're always learning new things, it suggests diving into a new skill or maybe a new subject. It's all about keeping that mind challenged.
I'm always up for a mental workout, for sure. But I guess it's not all fun and games, right?
Right. And the guide also emphasizes mindfulness and meditation. You can think of it as training for your mind.
Okay.
It helps you focus and manage stress and just be present. It's about building up that mental resilience.
That makes sense. Okay, and then there's, of course, social connection.
Mhm.
I feel like this guide really, really stresses that a lot. Why is that so important?
It's fascinating because the guide actually explains the science behind it.
Okay.
It goes into how social isolation can lead to poorer health outcomes. And it's not just about feeling lonely, it can actually affect your physical health, like increase the risk of heart disease and dementia and all sorts of things.
Wow, I didn't realize it was actually that powerful. So it's like almost like a fourth pillar, just as important as the others.
You could say that, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And the guide even offers some really practical suggestions for how to build those connections and nurture them. Like, think about community groups and volunteering, or even just regular phone calls with friends and family. It's about making those connections a priority.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that relationships are important. It's an investment in our well-being, no matter how old we are. So we've got those core pillars for aging well, but the guide goes deeper than that, right?
Oh, yeah. It gets into the nitty-gritty of specific lifestyle choices
Okay.
and how they impact how we age. And one that might surprise you is sleep.
Sleep. Well, yeah, I know sleep's important. We all know that, but I guess I don't see how it connects to aging well.
Well, the guide acknowledges that our sleep patterns change as we get older, but it really emphasizes how important quality sleep is for like your overall health and well-being.
Hmm.
And it even suggests something called a digital curfew.
A digital curfew. Oh, okay. You got my attention now. What is that?
Basically, it means shutting off all those electronics, especially
Yeah.
those bright screens, at least an hour before you go to bed. Because that blue light they emit, it can actually disrupt your sleep cycle,
Oh, okay.
and it can make it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Huh. I never really thought about it like that. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I've had nights where I've tossed and turned after being on my phone too long.
Oh, yeah, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But the guide reminds us that having good sleep hygiene is really crucial for maintaining everything from how well we think to our moods.
So ditching the late night scrolling in favor of like a good book or a relaxing bath, that might be the key to better sleep and maybe even better aging.
Possibly.
What else does the guide suggest when it comes to lifestyle choices?
Another big one is medication management. And this is something that becomes increasingly important as we get older, especially if we're taking multiple medications.
Yeah, I can see how that could get complicated. What does the guide recommend for that?
It stresses clear communication with your doctor. Make sure you understand exactly what you're taking and why, and what the potential side effects are, and how to stay organized. Like using pill organizers, setting reminders, maybe even involving a family member if you need to.
So it's about being proactive,
Exactly.
not just passively following the doctor's orders.
Right. And then, of course, there's the importance of avoiding harmful substances.
Well, duh, right? Look, that's just good advice at any age, I would think.
Oh, you're absolutely right. But the guide stresses that it's even more crucial as we age because our bodies become more vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
And even moderate alcohol consumption can be riskier.
That makes sense. Our bodies just don't bounce back the way they used to.
Yeah.
But what if someone's already struggling with substance use?
The guide emphasizes that it's so important to seek support.
Yeah.
There's no shame in reaching out for help, and it even provides resources, for finding support groups or treatment options.
That's really important. It's a good reminder that we don't have to go through things alone.
Okay, so we've got the core pillars of healthy aging and some smart lifestyle choices. What's next?
Well, from there, the guide moves on to proactive steps that we can take to create a more supportive environment for ourselves as we age, like setting ourselves up for success.
I like being proactive, so tell me about these steps.
It starts with home modifications. Now, you might think this is only relevant later in life, but the guide actually suggests that even small changes made now can make a big difference in your safety and independence down the road.
Like what? What kind of changes are we talking about?
Simple things like installing handrails, improving the lighting, maybe switching to a walk-in shower. These are all things that could benefit anyone, not just older adults.
Right, I see what you mean. It's about preventing problems
Exactly.
and just reacting to them when they happen.
Right, and then it gets into assistive devices and technology. And this is where things get really exciting. Okay, I am intrigued. What kind of technology? Is this like having a robot butler take care of everything?
Not quite a robot butler, but there are some pretty amazing advancements that can really help older adults live more independently and comfortably. Like, think about mobility aids, hearing and vision assistance, even smart home devices that can control lighting and temperature and security.
So it's about using technology to our advantage,
Absolutely.
not being intimidated by it.
Right. And then there's telemedicine, which is kind of a game changer.
Yeah.
You can consult with doctors remotely, manage prescriptions, even monitor your health stats from home.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a doctor on call 24/7. What else does the guide say about creating the supportive environment?
The last thing it mentions is transportation.
Okay.
And it acknowledges that this might not be top of mind if you're younger and you're still driving, but maintaining your mobility is crucial for staying independent and connected as you age.
Yeah, you don't want to feel trapped at home.
Exactly. So it encourages you to think beyond driving, explore options like public transportation, ride-sharing services, even community programs that offer rides for seniors.
Yeah.
It's about having backup plans.
Yeah, having options,
Yeah.
not letting transportation limitations, hold you back. So we've talked about these core pillars of healthy aging and some smart lifestyle choices, but there's a flip side to all of this, right? The guide doesn't ignore those less fun aspects of getting older, right?
Right. There are some realities we can't ignore, and the guide addresses them head on. It encourages you to think about the future and plan accordingly.
Okay. I'm ready to dive into those tougher topics. What does the guide suggest we do in terms of planning for the future?
Well, first up is financial security. Retirement might seem far off, but the guide emphasizes that it's never too early to start planning.
Yeah.
It suggests setting clear financial goals and creating a realistic budget and exploring different savings and investment options so you're prepared.
That's good advice for everyone, not just older adults.
Absolutely. And the guide's really big on diversification, spreading your savings across different types of investments to protect yourself from, market shifts and inflation.
Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that's smart. What else does the guide talk about in terms of future planning?
It also gets into Medicare and insurance.
Okay.
Now, this can be a really confusing topic,
Yeah.
but the guide does a good job of breaking down the different parts of Medicare and emphasizing the need to assess your own individual needs and explore your options.
Yeah, I've heard Medicare can be a real maze.
It can be, but the guide offers some helpful tips for making sense of it all. It even suggests considering long-term care insurance, which could be a lifesaver if you ever need help with daily activities or end up needing nursing home care.
That's not something I've really thought about, but it's definitely worth considering. What's the last big thing that the guide covers when it comes to future planning?
It tackles the, often difficult topic of estate planning, and end-of-life decisions.
I can see why people might put that conversation off. It's
Yeah.
understandable.
Not exactly a fun topic.
Right. But the guide stresses that it's crucial to address these things head on. It's about taking control and making sure your wishes are honored. Estate planning ensures that your assets are protected and distributed according to your wishes. And, advanced directives like a living will give you peace of mind knowing that your healthcare decisions are documented.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not about being morbid. It's about being prepared,
Right.
taking care of yourself and your loved ones.
Exactly. And by being proactive about these things, you can approach aging with a greater sense of confidence and control, knowing that you've got things covered.
I like that. It's
Yeah.
about empowerment,
Yes.
not just acceptance.
Right.
Okay, we've covered so much in this first part of our deep dive, and I feel like I've already learned a lot.
Hmm.
Is there, one thing you think our listeners should really take away from this part of the conversation? I would say the biggest takeaway is that aging well is a holistic process. It's not about any one thing. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports your physical and mental and emotional and social well-being.
That's a great point. It's not about focusing on one area and neglecting the others.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we'll leave you with a question to ponder. If aging well is about creating this holistic lifestyle, where do you see yourself focusing your energy right now? What small changes can you make to start building those healthy habits for the future? We'll be back with more insights and inspiration in part 2 of this deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to your deep dive into aging well. Last time we were talking about planning for the future, but there's so much more to uncover in this guide.
I'm ready to keep going. One thing that stood out to me was how it breaks down healthy aging into manageable pieces. It's not so overwhelming anymore.
That's one of the things that makes this guide so great. It gives you the tools to take control.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about how important nutrition is? Well, this guide doesn't just give you a list of healthy foods.
Right.
It explains how our dietary needs actually change as we get older.
That's interesting. I always thought healthy eating was pretty much the same for everyone.
Well, the guide really emphasizes how important nutrient density is.
Okay.
As we age, we may need fewer calories, but our bodies actually need more nutrient-rich foods to keep everything working right.
So our bones and our immune system and all that.
Exactly. It's not just about eating less. It's about making every bite count.
Our bodies want those nutrient powerhouses.
You got it. It's all about quality over quantity. So, focus on those bright fruits and veggies, lean proteins, and good fats.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Are there any specific examples from the guide?
Yeah. One that really stood out to me was calcium and vitamin D for bone health. It's super important for everyone, but even more so as we age because our bones naturally get a little more fragile.
Strong bones, strong body. Does the guide mention anything else we can do to support our bones?
It suggests adding in some weight-bearing exercise,
Right.
like walking or strength training. Just give your bones the support they need to stay strong.
Okay, got it. More calcium and vitamin D, weight-bearing exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Check, check, check. What else jumped out at you from the nutrition part of the guide?
This might sound really basic, but the guide really gets into how important it is to stay hydrated. Did you know that as we age, our sense of thirst can actually decrease?
Really?
So we might not realize we're dehydrated.
That's a little scary. We all know water is important, but I didn't realize it could be even more important as we get older. So, what are the risks if we don't stay hydrated?
Dehydration can cause a lot of problems, from, fatigue and confusion to more serious things like urinary tract infections or kidney problems.
Okay, I'm convinced I'm definitely going to make a point of drinking more water. Does the guide give any tips on how to stay on top of that?
It suggests keeping a water bottle with you all the time and sipping on it throughout the day.
Yeah.
You could even, snack on some water-rich fruits and veggies like watermelon or cucumbers.
Those are good practical tips. Okay, so we've got nutrition and hydration covered. What about keeping our minds sharp? I'm always looking for new ways to boost my brain power. What does the guide say about that?
The guide has a whole section about cognitive health,
Nice.
and it's full of advice. Beyond the usual puzzles and games, it really stresses how important it is to keep learning.
Okay.
It suggests taking classes, maybe picking up a new hobby, or even just reading about things that interest you.
So it's all about keeping our minds engaged, right?
Exactly. Think it like a workout for your brain. And, you're already a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
So you're doing great. But the guide kind of challenges you to push yourself even further. Try something completely new, something outside your comfort zone.
I like a good challenge. What else does the guide say about staying cognitively fit?
Something that might surprise you. is social interaction. Just
Hmm.
having regular conversations and meaningful connections, it can actually do a lot for our brain health.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we all know how isolating it can be to just stay home all the time.
That's exactly.
So getting out there and socializing, that's a win-win.
Right.
Good for our mental health and our brain health. Are there any other, like, brain-boosting activities the guide mentions?
The guide also talks about the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. Even just taking a few minutes each day to meditate can improve your attention, reduce stress, and even boost your memory.
I've heard that before, but I've always had a hard time sticking with meditation. Like, my mind just wanders. Does the guide give any tips for beginners?
It acknowledges that meditation can be tricky at first,
Yeah.
but it encourages you to start small. Even just a few minutes a day in a quiet space can make a difference. It's about finding what works for you and, being patient with yourself.
Okay. Maybe I'll give it another shot. Now, switching gears a bit, I noticed that the guide also talks about preventing falls and injuries, which is something I honestly haven't thought much about.
That's a good thing to be aware of, especially since our balance and coordination can change as we age. The guide has a lot of practical tips for creating a safer environment.
Okay, I'm all ears.
At home, it suggests simple things like removing tripping hazards, securing loose rugs, making sure the lighting is good, and installing grab bars in the bathroom.
Those sound like really good ideas. It's about being proactive,
It's
not waiting until something happens. What about when we're not at home?
It also emphasizes wearing the right shoes when you're out and about.
Okay.
Be mindful of uneven surfaces and use assistive devices like a cane or a walker if you need to.
It's all about being aware.
Exactly. You don't have to be overly cautious, but be smart and take steps to prevent falls. And speaking of being smart, the guide also says it's important to get regular vision and hearing checkups.
Why are those so important for preventing falls?
Well, if you can't see clearly or hear well, it's a lot harder to move around safely. You might miss hazards or not react quickly enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't really thought about it that way before. So regular checkups are a must for our senses and to prevent accidents.
You got it. And here's something else you might not have considered. Medication management can also play a role in fall prevention.
Oh, really? How so?
Some medications can have side effects like dizziness or drowsiness,
Okay.
which can make you more likely to fall.
Wow. I didn't realize that. So it's important to talk to your doctor about any side effects and make sure you're not taking anything that could affect your balance.
Absolutely. It's about making informed decisions.
Are there any other insights about fall prevention that the guide offers?
This might surprise you, but it suggests staying active,
Okay.
doing things you enjoy to help prevent falls.
How does that help?
When we stay active and engaged in life, we're less likely to become isolated and withdrawn, which can actually lead to a decline in our physical and cognitive function,
Yeah.
making us more prone to falls.
So it's like a positive cycle.
Exactly. Staying active and engaged keeps you healthier and happier, which then reduces your risk of falls.
It's all connected.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It all comes back to that idea that aging well is holistic.
Right?
It's about your whole lifestyle, not just one specific thing.
I love that. It's not about compartmentalizing. It's about seeing how everything works together.
Exactly. Now, remember how we touched on estate planning and end-of-life decisions? The guide provides a lot of information about those as well.
Yeah, those are tough topics for a lot of people.
Yeah, they can be.
What approach does the guide take to those?
It's very sensitive and informative.
Okay.
And it says it's never too early to start thinking about these things, even if you're perfectly healthy.
Okay.
And it really stresses how important it is to talk openly and honestly with your loved ones about your wishes.
That makes sense. It's about taking control, making sure your voice is heard. So, what kind of specific guidance does the guide offer?
It gives you a really good rundown of the different legal documents involved,
Mm.
like wills, trusts, and advance directives. It encourages you to think about your legacy too, not just in terms of, possessions or money, but also the values and memories you want to leave behind.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's about more than just finances. It's about making a difference.
Right. And by being proactive about these things, you can approach aging with a greater sense of peace and purpose.
I love that. Okay, we've covered so much in this part of our deep dive, and I'm feeling really inspired to actually take action. What's one thing you think our listeners should take away from this segment of the conversation?
I think the biggest takeaway is that knowledge is power. By understanding the changes that come with aging and taking steps to address them, you can really age on your own terms. It's not about fearing the future. It's about embracing it.
I love that message of empowerment. It's not about passively accepting aging, it's about actively shaping the experience. So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we have another question for you to think about. We've talked about so many different aspects of aging well, from nutrition and fall prevention to estate planning. Which one feels the most relevant to you right now? What's one small step you can take today to start addressing it? We'll be back soon with the last part of this deep dive, where we'll explore even more ways to embrace aging and live a fulfilling life. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of your deep dive into the art of aging well. We've covered so much already, like the core pillars of healthy aging and those practical tips for creating a supportive environment.
And we talked about planning for the future and taking a proactive approach to your well-being.
Exactly. But this guide goes even deeper than all that.
Yeah, it does.
It looks at how we can keep living these rich and fulfilling lives as we get older. It's not just about staying healthy, but really nurturing our spirits.
That's a beautiful way to put it. One of the things the guide really emphasizes is how important it is to stay connected to those passions and interests that make you, you,
Okay.
even as we get older. It's not about slowing down or disengaging from life.
Gotcha.
It's about finding new ways to express yourself, to experience joy.
So there's still room for adventure, for excitement, even as we age. It's not all about rocking chairs and afternoon naps.
Absolutely not. This guide actually encourages you to explore new things,
Okay.
reignite old passions, maybe even dust off those hobbies you had to put aside
Yeah.
because of life. It's about giving yourself permission to play and have fun.
I love that. So what kind of activities does the guide suggest?
It really runs the gamut. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be anything from gardening to painting to playing a musical instrument or learning a new language. The point is to find something that brings you joy and challenges you in a positive way.
Yeah, it's about finding those things that light us up.
Exactly. And doing these things can have some amazing benefits for your mental and emotional health,
Okay.
and even your physical health.
It's a triple win. You get to do something you enjoy, and you get all these extra benefits on top of that. What else does the guide say about hobbies and interests?
Well, it also points out that joining clubs or groups centered around your hobbies is a great way to connect with other
Right.
people who share your passions, and it's a good way to expand your social circle.
That's a great point. It's like a built-in support system.
Yeah, and a chance to learn from others, too.
Exactly. It's about building community.
Exactly. And speaking of community, the guide also talks about how beneficial volunteering can be.
Oh, yeah. Volunteering's something I've always wanted to do more of. What does the guide say about its benefits?
Well, for one thing, it's a great way to stay active and engaged, both physically and mentally. A lot of volunteer opportunities involve physical activity, and it often requires you to think on your feet and interact with people.
So keep you sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then there's that social and emotional boost that you get from it. Volunteering can be a fantastic way to combat loneliness. It gives you the chance to connect with others, make friends, and just feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
So it's about giving back, but it's also about what you receive in return.
Precisely. And the guide even suggests that volunteering can help you connect with younger generations, which can be really rewarding.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like bridging that generation gap, you know?
Yeah, sharing our wisdom and experience while also learning from younger perspectives.
I love that. So we've talked about hobbies and volunteering, but there's one more theme I wanted to hit before we wrap up this deep dive. Throughout this whole guide, there's this recurring idea of reframing aging, seeing it as an opportunity, not a decline. What does that mean to you?
To me, it means approaching aging with a sense of curiosity and excitement, not fear.
Yeah.
It's realizing that even though our bodies might change, our spirits can keep growing.
It's about embracing the journey, wrinkles and all.
Exactly. And you have more control over your aging experience than you might realize.
Okay.
It's about making choices that help you thrive and looking for experiences that bring you joy and fulfillment.
That is beautifully said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the art of aging well, what's one tiny change our listener can make, no matter their age, to start building those healthy habits for the future?
I would say start by moving more, even if it's just a short walk or some stretches. It's about making those small changes that add up over time.
Great advice. It's never too late to start taking care of ourselves.
You got it. And even if you feel like you've made mistakes in the past, you can always course correct.
Yeah.
It's about progress, not perfection.
That is so well said. Well, folks, That's it for our deep dive into the art of aging well. We hope you got some great insights and helpful tips for living a healthier, longer, and more fulfilling life as you age. And remember, aging's a journey, not a destination. It's all about embracing each stage of life with curiosity, with intention, and with a sense of adventure. What does that mean for you? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep aging well.